Pandemic. Oh, manage have you yourself how do you consider the what do you look at? What press finish you? But I'm message, I'm teaching. Yeah, I think um, manage you. Same Ghana, which go on this week. Okay, okay. Charles, Owo now. Charles. Yes. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Very principle for another auspicious moment in our church. So, systematic and constitution. Today happens to be government figure of this city, one of the people that this government ensuring that they have get educated. And today is quite exceptional because we are going to be having, we have already not just going to be having one of that is the government is proud of. And it's interesting to know that this one we have the honorable Kenechukwu Nwosu, his decision on basic education, secondary basic and secondary education. And one interesting part of this thing is that we have our own ministry in that center, and we can understand from the book of things and where this conversation will be driving to. So, sir, I want to say thank you for coming around this morning. And now, sure, we have to ensure that we get to know everybody seated here. And our name and our body are ARTEX. That's so, tomorrow we'll be able to show you station and ARTEX. This morning, so that is the best part of it. So, this conversation is going out from Facebook and news. Radio station that's streaming this Sunday right now. So the first part of it is talking to adults and all the radio station and TV station and all the social media platforms. So you get to understand some of the things that we're telling us today, good, and to the noise that we are. So having said that, we want to start this very education media interface steps. started. Thank you. Welcome, sir. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, sir. Good morning, our president. My name is Charlie. I am general manager of
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, sir. My name is Conrad Town. I'm the General Manager of Banking FM.
Come on, never going to cheat. Sick. Honorable happens to be my friend, even though we have not seen for a long time. My name is Saudi now. I manage Real FM.
Abia, Mama, especially when the phone is set. Good morning. My name is Governor of Abia State. I'm from the family of Radio Nigeria, President of the General Manager.
Good morning. There's a problem. So Justice General Manager.
Good morning. Good everybody. I'm back in the I'm back in I'm looking at it. It's a pleasure. Start by my name. Chief Science, son of the National Computer. Okay, having done that, my name is Charles William, general manager, son of the National and I pray for indulgence distinguished colleagues at this point. I want to bring out introduce our chairman and why this thing is there today is because of his visionary leadership and he has been one. I mean, he knows what we are doing here. He has been part of it and every other person here. Like you heard the names, some of the names you hear probably your house or your car. I mean, you are seeing them there. Some will still join because of this conversation. So I take for indulgence to introduce our chairman, right, HEK, who blending as a Rwanda. Is the chairman, you have the floor. Thank you very much. You're welcome, Honorable Kenechukwu Nwosu. You're welcome again. It's good to have you. Before we proceed, it's our custom in Igbo land to welcome our guests. And as you can see, we always say that people are not going understand English. And everyone here, I think everyone here is, unless Chris
He's Igbo.
is now Igbo.
He's Igbo. He's Igbo now.
So people I get better knowledge. I get better knowledge. Ọjị nọ n'ihu anyị ọrụ. Achọrọ m iwere ọjị a ka m were ya bunye Honorable Ugochukwu Emezuo. Ọwụ mụ na ya ọ gaghị na ebe a I was son of the son, they should be super on everybody, they challenge. I'm not going to do chairman, but they wouldn't do one way ever emergency event. Okay, only just been.
Mama, ARTEX, Mama, I justice
onye mepere anyị ụzọ ị ma ọ bụrụ o mepere anyị ụzọ agaghị bata so justice aka mara gị ọchị aka bụrụ unu so ọchị ka anyị gbapụ ya ọsọ nwanne m nwoke anyị ekpele n'ọchị bụ ọchị anyị ihe chapụkwara achapụ ọchị anyị chapụkwara achapụ ị bịala
Abia South, Mamman. Abia Central, Mamman. Abia North, Mamman. Abia State, Nigeria, need the Keres Wodo, Nico, Ahona Monjia. Ojia, Ojoma. Ojia, Ojia, I'm going to know what you do. Isi ụtụtụ a na-egosikwa na ihe anyị ga-agazi nke ọma anyị na-ekelekwa ọhaneze na inwe anyị na ndị igwe maka inye anyị nke ọma ebe ọ na-anabata n'ọjị a anyị wedere na ndị gara n'okpuru tebụl I went to the together to do it. I said, oh, yes. I guess, Mama.
Yeah.
Ati ọbasiri dị ebe anyị na-ekele ya maka ọchị a. Achọ onye ọbụla wetara ọchị wetara ntị. Ana ọgede ndị ARTEX na mma. Ọgedekwa ndị ARTEX na mma. Ọgede anyị na mma n'ihi na mgbe ọbụla anyị na-agbakọta ikwunye mmasị ọkara ihu steeti anyị na Naịjirịa. Biro anyị niile ede gbagwagwa. Kamera anyị ga-ele ahụ ihe niile. Ma emechezie Chineke gị na otuto. Ya anyị ogologo ndụ. A na-arịọ ọganihu udo na ARTEX na Abia steeti ma ụtụtụ ma n'ehihie ma n'abalị. Abịa mma mmanụ Abịa mma mmanụ ụlọ obodo unu maka nna
At this point, we have to commence this conversation, but before we do so, I'm standing on an established protocol, and I want to pray for the audience. What we have on the table, see where we can bring it down, so that we should not bring up facts that we don't need us. So, in our usual way, I hope we have to throw the floor open. So that will wait, so as to get the speech of our able chairman. And I want to ask that let them go and yes.
Let him finish.
Finish whatever we're doing. Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, you have the floor.
Distinguished members and esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good everyone. It is my pleasure to warmly welcome every one of us to this important session as we host a distinguished personality in the person of Honorable Kenechukwu Nwosu. Of course, we all know he is the special advisor to the Abia State Governor on basic and secondary education. Let me also proudly emphasize the strength of our association ARTEX, the Association of Abia Radio and Television Executive. Sir, Abia Radio and Television Executive, ARTEX, stands as a powerful voice in the media space built on unity, professionalism, and a deep sense of responsibility to society. We are more than broadcasters. We are opinion leaders, development partners, and defenders of credible information. Our platform educates, inform, and shape public understanding, making us an essential partner in governance and social progress. With integrity as our foundation and excellence as our standard, ARTEX remains committed to using the power of media to promote transparency, accountability, peace, and sustainable development in our state, Abia. Today's engagement is both timely and significant. Education remains the foundation of any progressive society, and the future of our state depends greatly on strength of our basic and secondary education system. Having a key government advisor in this area with us shows the importance attached to dialogue, collaboration, and shared responsibility in shaping the minds of the next generation. As media and communication professionals, we recognize the powerful role information plays in shaping attitudes towards education. We are committed to supporting initiatives that promote quality learning, discipline, innovation, and equal opportunities for every child. Through our platform, we will continue to raise awareness, encourage community involvement, and highlight policies that move our education sector forward. Sir, we appreciate your presence and your willingness to share insight into government efforts, reforms, and plans aimed at improving the education sector in Abia State. We believe this session will provide clarity, deepen understanding, and open doors for stronger cooperation between stakeholders and the government. Once again, you're most welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, let us have a fruitful and enlightening session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. So at this point, we are diving into the third part today, and that is to present our questions to our guest, and please ensure that the questions are not too much to conclude in a very reasonable time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the chairman and members of the ARTEX. And we give honors. I'm very excited to have this privilege of being in your midst today. It's indeed a remarkable moment for me because our state, Abia State, with its passion, with its zeal and commitment to enhance, to promote, and establish world-class basic and secondary education in all our schools. In line with the transformation agenda, His Excellency, the Governor of Abia State, Governor Alex, anytime I'm called upon to speak in the area of education, I'll show him. That is why I thank the chairman for all his resilience, regardless of my schedule, following up on me and trying to see how we can get this thing done. I thank all of you for also showing up on time. His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Abia State, from his manifesto to its campaign promises to Abians and his inaugural speech on May 29, 2023 clearly expressed the fact that in his time as Governor of Abia State, Abia State is indeed going to have the best of education, transformational education, reformed education. And that is why really he set out the duties, to build a solid team, to do the needful. And not only that, allocating 20% of his budget to the education sector speaks a lot, underscores the fact that indeed education is not priority. We all know that he declared a state of emergency in the education sector, health sector, infrastructure, waste management, as well as security. And education remains number one because building the desired future of Abia State is centered on intellectual development and capacity building, on building a new set of people through our basic and secondary education system that can stand out as educated peoples. That is why everything we do as a state, day by day, we work hard to ensure that this foundational level, which is basic and secondary education, is thoroughly, meticulously, carefully developed to stand as a foundation for every other thing we do. And I believe that is what we came here to discuss today. February of 2025, Abia State launched Abia State's Innovation Reform School Transformation, Abia First. That is an umbrella strategy that encompasses all the things that the government has to provide in education, including digital learning, infrastructure development, early childhood care and development in education, technical and vocational training, strengthening science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and also providing for the people learning or living with disabilities. Also, capacity building, making sure that what was seen on ground as a baseline is improved in the area of our teachers. Because whatever happens in the classroom is centered on what the teacher has to give. That is why we commenced building capacity in human resource development by training our teachers. 2,000 teachers at the first instance. We call them master trainers, lead master trainers, because we believe in continuous training. After that, the whole cohort continued, and His Excellency felt that there are gaps in the area of education. In our schools, we met a situation where we didn't have adequate teachers. Most have retired. We also saw gaps where we need to fill up. That is why the government of Abia State immediately set out plans to recruit 5,394 teachers to make up this gap. And this recruitment process has indeed proven to be the best ever, and a template, a model that has been copied by other places, where you do not need to have anybody, godfather, you don't need to know anybody in government. There is no list compiled. Abians and even non-Abians were given the opportunity to come in and prove themselves in a computer-based test system that indeed brought out the most appropriate people that were now interviewed. And immediately they were interviewed, shortlisted for employment. They were onboarded, trained, and immediately deployed to our schools. So that said, one of the things that this government has done to prove that indeed reform has continued is that these teachers that were recruited have been paid to date. They receive their salaries, and we all know that every teacher in Abia State from the 28th of every month receive their salary. And that speaks volumes of the commitment of government to ensure that the welfare of teachers is immediately reduced. In the area of infrastructure, seeing that infrastructure development, giving students, comfortable learning environment is key. Because a child that sits well in a good environment will learn well. That is why massive transformation of our infrastructure has continued. Building new schools, renovating existing schools, and also providing furniture and all the rest of them. One thing I must have to say is that it's a systematic process that is ongoing, and the government has continued to maintain its promises. Two other things I'll have to say here is that coming into the government of Abia State as executive governor, His Excellency made fully well that the universal basic education program is very key in strengthening our partnership with the federal by providing counterpart funds. Counterpart funds provision is one of the ways that government is rated to see how serious they are in the universal basic education program. His Excellency made it straight away 50%, which is our counterpart funds provision for 4 years straight, which matching the federal government provided us with over 8 billion naira has also been invested in education in its own way right now. Finally, I will also have to say that digital learning, which is the future of learning, is something that is central to this administration. That is why we are building our smart schools to ensure that every child in Abia is given an opportunity to benefit from this transformation. Having said that, finally, the Abia State government wants to provide or to produce children that will stand out to add value to the society. Whenever a child passes through our schools, there should be something unique that distinguishes a child that this child passed through the education system. Adding value, standing up shoulder by shoulder, or shoulder to shoulder with other students, Lagos, across Port Harcourt, and even outside the country to say that indeed they are skilled, and even providing jobs, giving solutions to societal problems. So having said that, I'm open to have questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this point, let's now open the floor for support of Shaman. Let's start with the questions and please ensure that the question is not lasting and statement. Thank you. Sit down.
So, Kenechukwu smart school, we need to know. We need to make a business of Mara. I'm not going to we're not going to understand that. We do it in Google and then
Ịmara na biko aga m ekwukwa n'Igbo na-asụ ihe a n'Igbo. Biko unu amarala na ihe bụ ọkammụta dị na digital learning dịka anyị si na-akpọ ya bụ ihe gọọmenti anyị lere anya na ọ ga-enyere ụmụaka anyị aka ha wee nwee ike gbapụ ya ọsọ ihe dị na nkụzi. Ọ bịa mere His Excellency bụ Governor of Abia State wee hiwe ihe a bụ digital learning, blended learning agwakọtara ya ọnụ n'ebe a na-akụzikwa na nke a na-eji ọnụ na-ekwu na nke nkọwa ejikwa na nke a na-apị ya n'igwe kọmputa. Ọ bịa mere o ji wee sị na a ga-enwe smart school a na ọ ga-adị 20 na Abia Steeti. Smart schools agaghị 20 ga-abụkwa ihe a ga-arụ ya otu na local gọọmenti nke ọbụla. Ebe ya bụrụ iri na asatọ na asaa. Arụcha nke ahụ, a ga-abịakwa rụọ nke bụ ọkaibe ihe gbasara smart school. Ị ga-amara na ihe a na-akpọ smart bụ ihe nchịkọtara ọnụ. Skuul ahụ ga-abụ maka ụmụaka ndị isi ihe ọha ha tiri aka n'ihi na eji igwe kọmputa wee zụọ ha. Emechaa nke ahụ, abịa nwee nke ga-abụ atọ ga-adị na secretariat zone. Abịa North, Abịa South, na Abịa Central. Nke a ga-awụ, ọ ga-awụ ọkụ na otu nke a bụ nke obere, nke a ga-awụ nke ga-ebu ibu, ebe ọ ga-awụ nwatakịrị gụchara na nke a nwere ike ya agaghị na nke junior secondary, ebe a ka a ga-esi wee zụwa ha. Ọ ga-adị naanị atọ, na nke a ga-awụ nke ga-ebu ezigbo ibu ka a na-akpọ mega smart school. Ile anyị hụ na onye isi anyị bụ onye na-akpachapụ anya tupu o tinye aka n'ihe ọbụla. Ọ na-ebu ụzọ lee anya ihe ndị bekee ọ strategy, nwee ike lepụ anya n'ihu wee hụ anyị malite ihe a, olee otu anyị ga-esi were mee ya na-akwụ n'ihi na ndị ọzọ na-eme, mana nke a ga-awụ ihe ha bịara aka eme. Ọ ya mere a na-ekwu okwu smart school, ị ga-ahụ na anyị na-eme ya nwayọọ nwayọọ, ha na ndị ga-enweta ihe anyị chọrọ. N'ihi na ụmụaka anyị ga-aga ụlọ akwụkwọ ahụ. Mgbe anyị malitere smart school a, anyị ga-ele anya onye isi anyị ga-ajụ ajụjụ si smart school anyị ọ chekwara na ndị ebe ọwụ ikpe amalite smart school a ga-ọgasị na oche adịkwaghị ebe ụmụaka ga-aga. N'ihi na ndị mmadụ ekwuola okwu smart school ọtụtụ ndị abịakwala na-asị olee mgbe a ga-ewepụta akwụkwọ fọm a ga-eji tinye ya sị ka anyị nwere ike mee ya ka ọ bụrụ ibu, ka o nwere ike hie nne ukwu, nwee ike nabata tupu ụmụ akwụkwọ ndị ọzọ. Dịka isi na-ajụ ajụjụ a na ngwongwo ụka ya kpere na ụlọ akwụkwọ, ọ na-eme ka ị mara na ngwongwo na-arụ na ụlọ akwụkwọ ahụ na ọ dịghị ebe ọbụla ị ga-ahụ na Nigeria. All class facilities that will stand out based in global best practices. Ụmụ ụwa gbaa gburugburu ga-elekwasị anya sị ọ bụ n'ezie ihe na-ebe a ihe kwesịrị ime mara ọhụrụ Abia steeti. Ọ bụ ha na-akpọ bọọdụ, smart bọọdụ. A na-ede ihe na a na-eji chọọkụ na-ede, mana ụlọ akwụkwọ anyị a na-akpọ smart school, ọ dịghị nwatakịrị ọbụla ga-ejikwa pen na-ede a ga-ejizi ihe ndị bekee na-akpọ tablet kọmputa. Ụmụ akwụkwọ niile n'ebe ahụ ga-enweta tablet kọmputa a ga-eji ya na-amụ ihe. Ọ bụ ihe anyị na-akpọ learning management system, ihe a na-eji ahazi ihe mmụta. A ga-eji kọrịkụlọm bụ otu esi depụta ihe a ga na-akụzi n'ụlọ akwụkwọ wee mee ya digitize, mee ya ka ọ ghọọ ihe ga-abanye na ihe kọmputa. So ọ bụ otu a ka a ga-esi na-akụzi ihe ahụ. Oge ihe ọzọ na-akpọ school management system SMS, otu a na-esi amara aha nwatakịrị, olee afọ ole ka ọ dị, olee ihe ndị ọzọ dị iche iche kwesịrị ịma maka. A na-akwara ngwongwo a niile tinye ya na school management system. Nwatakịrị ọbụla bịara akwụkwọ amarala na ọ bịara akwụkwọ. Ticha ọbụla bịara enwe ebe ọ ga-apị aka mara na ọ batala n'ụlọ akwụkwọ ụbọchị ahụ. Onyoko dị iche iche ga-anọ na-eme ihe ndị na-eme na ụlọ akwụkwọ ahụ. Nke bụ na onye isi obodo Abia steeti bụ His Excellency Governor of Abia State nwere ike ịnọ na ọfịs ya ebe ụlọ ọrụ ya nwee ike na-ede anyị ihe na-eme na ụlọ akwụkwọ anyị dị iche iche, marakwa na ụmụaka ha na-apụtakwa ihe anyị site na bọọdụ ahụ, that is smart board ahụ. Ọ ga-adị na class niile. Ọ bụrụ na e nwere 20 classes na school a, ha niile dị already 65 inches mere ka o buru ibu. Onye isi anyị gọvanọ nwere ike ịnọ n'ọfịs ya kpọkpọọ otu nwatakịrị nọ na classroom, kpọọ ya ahụ ya na-eme ya na kọmputa nke ya na-eme ya sị ya na ha amụta ihe a na-akụziri gị. Ticha abịakwala ụbọchị taa, ihe kwesịrị ịkụziri na akụziere ya ememela asaịmentị unu. Ihe ọzọ anyị kwesịrị ịnwa na smart school a bụ ọ ga-enwe ihe anyị kpọrọ telehealth. Ọ dị nwatakịrị ọbụla tupu nke ahụ o nwere klinik sick bay gaa na skuul ahụ, anyị akpọtakwara ndị nọọsụ na ndị dọkịta ugbu a enyewara ha ọzụzụ dị iche iche ha ga-eji wee gaa nọrọ ebe ahụ na-elekọta ụmụaka. Nwatakịrị ọbụla nwere ahụ ọkụ ma onwe
smart school. I don't know about the controversial topics against the labor. I want you to summarize how many of them are available as of now, and most of the things you said. Secondly, there is allegation. The last time the governor did the chat, I think the artist was that some children are not being paid. So what you know, what is it? Yeah, so that some of us will take it as an insight.
Okay. So in summary, the smart school project is a flagship project to ensure that it's exposed to the children, let them learn, and an experience that will give them and the capacity. Not only that, we all know that the future is based on technology. The future is based on artificial intelligence, and these are things that are being provided in the school environment. And the first instance, we have set out to do the first 8 schools in this smart school project. And as I said, we are meticulously, systematically positioning these smart schools, not just because we are in a hurry to do them, but we want to get the smart schools right. Now, if you go to Obo Primary School, go back around, you see a smart school standing there that is almost being completed. It's almost commissioned. If you go to Omo, by the way, Mbakara is Omo South local government area of Abia State. If you go to Omo in Isialangwa, not local government, you also see a school, a smart school coming up there as well. Now, in Bende, in Bende town, is a smart school project that is ongoing. So what we are doing now is, as we are doing this, we are also picking up lessons learned for what we are doing and making sure that we step up our game in other smart schools. But the assurance is that by the grace of God, by the end of this month, Abians will gladly walk into a smart school being built successfully by the government of Abia State to have a taste of what it will look like for others to now follow, and I believe the rest will gladly have guidance. Now, on the side of teachers, you said the teachers have not been paid their salaries. Yes, I must have to say one thing here. Majority of teachers are being paid. That is one thing. But one thing you have to note is that there are some other technical issues that can make a teacher not to get their salary. One is improper information, data provided to the bank. Secondly, systematic errors, network and all that. But generally, truly speaking, many of our teachers, most of our teachers are receiving their salary. But somebody might have an issue or the other. Somebody that moved from one school into another school, by the time this information is being migrated to this other side, might cause a little delay. But I must assure you that all those things about salaries and unpaid salaries are mostly technical issues. But it is the commitment of Abia State government that salaries are paid 28th of every month. And I have been going around schools. Last week, I was in so many schools asking questions. This is on a first-hand basis, physical inspection, to ask teachers, have you received your salary? And many, majority, a very high majority have received their salaries. Every other thing might be technical, And at the back end, Abia State government continues to work assiduously to make sure that the few people that have not received their salaries are being paid. And what we also tell people is that if you receive yours, tell your neighbor that you have received yours. If you receive yours, tell your neighbor that you received yours. It's an encouraging factor at Abia State. Thank you.
Okay, let me ask. Sorry, sir. Can I? Please, I want to take you on. This is a salary. I recall some time ago, the Excellency of Africa during the media part with regards to some teachers who are yet to receive their salaries. And I'm referring to the teachers in some of the primary schools whose retirement age may have been extended from 60 to 65. So I'm trying to find out, sir, in the course of your supervisory jobs, have you tried to find out the limits involved? Thank you, sir. And they told us, sir, in regards to the smart schools, what actually is the criteria for the education of these schools?
Thank you very much. Okay, for the age 60 to 65 people and 35 to 40 years of service. Yes, if you were also at the media briefing of His Excellency the Governor, same question came up. And His Excellency gave instructions as usual, and he's very concerned about the welfare of teachers. He gave instructions that if there are any pending cases of such, that they should be paid immediately. Okay? So immediately he said that the system, the ASUBEB, the SCMB and all that, went into action immediately to clean up if there's any outstanding people. The people that 60 to 65 years, there's something that happened. We decided to first of all rely on the best practices to screen them. You understand? To screen them to make sure that they are fit to continue after the age of 60, right? And in the course of that, we also noticed that there's some people, naturally, that at the age of 60, they were not able to pass the screening test, the fitness, the IQ, everything about that. So those that succeeded, that passed through that screening successfully, they were now onboarded back to the system again, because you know that automatically this is computerized, right? Once somebody hits that 60, the computerized process now kind of locks out, right? So they are being brought back to the system, and the assurances I'm giving to you is that any of those outstanding ones is something that is being worked on now, and they are going to be paid completely. Yes, so that is the situation. I went to some schools and I saw quite a lot of them that have been. By the way, you know that's a federal policy, and other states now domesticated that policy here, and we're standing by our policies and commitments to ensure that if there are any outstanding personnel and people that have not been paid, they are definitely going to be paid. And that solidifies the fact that His Excellency also mentioned that in the media chat to also show his commitment to ensure that everybody is taken care of. Now, we know that teachers, as you get older, the more experience you have, and those experiences are treasured by the state government. And we are thinking about beyond just in the classroom, because we are enhancing quality assurance in our schools. The vast experience they have is also what we want to utilize to ensure that they contribute their own quota towards improved quality assurance in our schools, going to our schools to also make sure, mentor even the teachers that are younger, to teach them a lot and make sure that quality assurance is enhanced in our schools. So that's my assurance. Okay, the criteria for the selection of the smart schools. One, it is one per local government. That is one. Two, we also took note of demographic and geographic data, where there's high population of people, centralizing it in such a way that the children of that area, since this is only one in the local government, you see where upper primary school is positioned, where you have the Aba Road, going to, at the center of Obakala there. It's a huge population at the center of Old Roma here and Apumiri, so that a lot of people can come from Apumiri side, Old Roma here, Olokoro, and all that. So that is a perfect example of what it is like. Now, if you look at the one at Omomayu, you see that Omomayu Smart School is just standing in between Isialangwa North and Isialangwa South. Once you pass the military checkpoint and you come in like this. So the ones from Tina, children from Tina can come to that school, children from Omo Mainda and down the other way of Isialangwa South can also benefit from that school. The one in Bende, you see that Bende town is a heavily populated area that we also want to make sure that every child, at least within that area, and I can tell you the truth that between January, beginning of January, that we started this second term, and now Open Primary School has increased in population, in enrollment, by 162 children have enrolled, in addition to about 280 something that we had at the end of December. 162 have now enrolled in anticipation to benefit from the smart schools. So you now see that the geographical location, the demographics, everything speaks volumes of the fact that this is critically selected. And that's how it's going to spread out across the entire state. If you go to Amaba in Iguano, that is also a site for smart school. Now, if you go to Umuabai Secondary School in Aba, yes, Umuabai Secondary School, in anticipation of the smart school, the expectation of the quality of education that's going to be provided at Umuabai Primary School and Umuabai Secondary School, you now see that Umuabai has increased exponentially from about 88 students to 900 in a very short time. So that is another comment I'm going to make about the free and compulsory education program that is the critical issue in smart schools, that whatever world-class facilities that we're providing in this smart school is free. And I bet you that there's no place you're going to see such facilities. Whichever school that you see that kind of facility in this country will be charging 0.5 million and above for a term. But His Excellency is providing that free of charge for every student in that school. So the free and compulsory education His Excellency has introduced in 13th of January 2025, which we just recorded 1 year of it, has produced tremendous results. The impact has been wonderful, because you can now see that our schools enrollment has increased over 100% within 1 year of that free and compulsory education. If you go to a school like Osusu Primary School in Aba, you see that Osusu Primary School has increased from 280 something students to 700 within a very short time. If you also go to different schools across the state, if you go to Nkata Primary School, you see that Nkata Primary School has also increased. Nkata Primary School, they just introduced their junior secondary section, and junior secondary section within the first year of the academic session has had an enrollment of over 400 students within that. These are things that are verifiable, working to those places. And we are also backing up all these places I'm talking about now with good infrastructure. If you go to Nkata Primary School, you see that Nkata Primary School is not the way it used to be before. There are good structures, chairs and all that. Still, people keep on coming. Parents are having confidence in the fact that His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Abia State, has brought back the glory of basic and secondary education. That is why Abians are responding in all sincerity by pulling their children from wherever they were back to our public schools, and we are cutting down on the number of out-of-school children, which is a global issue. Then we have millions of children that are out of school across the world with World Bank statistics, United Nations statistics and all that. But in Abia State, this is a very different picture, because His Excellency the Governor, through his programs and policies, is reducing. And we are targeting between now and 2027 that we are going to have 0 out-of-school children in Abia State. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, sorry, sorry. Let's check the format. We'll be taking three questions, then you answer, so as to minimize the time we spend. So,
Question.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. You've explained a lot, and the last question you just treated. I think it's important to also sensitize our minds, because if you look at the position of your position, I believe every school being balanced today is a smart school. And they're all smart schools. So there's a need to differentiate between which is a smart school, about 8, the rest are not smart schools. Very important. You mentioned the government's effort in ensuring science and technology improves in our schools. I recall in the late 80s and 90s, introductory technology was one of the things that helped a lot of people. Wood and metal work and the rest of them. People who studied in secondary school who never went further were able to start a life like that. Their efforts in the United States government to bring in science and technology equipment into these schools being done today. Maybe something that can reintroduce something like introductory technology or any other format that can help develop our science and technology in our state. That's my question.
Okay, so Honorable, you touched part of the question of mine is behind borders the free education policy of the current administration of Dr. ARTEX. You mentioned the smart school, and my colleague talked about the distinction between smart schools and the ones that are not smart schools. My question was going to be, as much as the free education policy of this administration is commendable, what is the government doing in the area for provisions of facilities, furnitures, desks for the pupils? We've seen a couple of pictures going viral from schools where we had people sit on the floor. What is the government doing in that regard? And maybe writing materials as well, the likes of textbooks and exercise books. And maybe going further in the area of security. What is the government doing in the area of security? Since we're having an upsurge in this level. Thank you.
Okay. Let me be the third person.
Thank you so much, Honorable. You actually answered one of my questions. It has to do with infrastructure. But this is my question. I've always believed that
Sorry,
business change.
let's get to your name on the platform.
I think
Because we're recording, so
Okay.
we're about to.
Okay, my name is Confidential. I'm the general manager of Rapid FM. I've always believed that the deepest change is mental. For me, education must quietly teach this idea. So, the question is, the State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education approved new educational content for junior secondary schools to enrich learning. And this is now referring to Joe Akanazu's Soul and Spirit Poetry of a Heart plus more. Now, will this new educational content reinforce the Igbo philosophy amongst young Abians? This is my question.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I will start from the question that's precision or the normal form and Okay, so yes, I am very aware that everybody seems to be talking about smart schools, and we have over 925 primary schools in Abia State, as well as 7 secondary schools, and even more are coming up. So there's no way every school can be a smart school in the first instance. A smart school is a specialized school, okay, with a blended learning system, learning management system, school management system, and offers an inspirational strategy for the child. Now, let's just put it this way, this is a room. What will make this room smart? Give a smart board, give everybody here wired tablets, and we are connected to a smart board. And I'm standing here teaching you. This is a smart classroom, right? So it's an ongoing strategy of government that gradually we are going to keep providing smart gadgets and equipment in our schools, right? That now, but we are saying these are the pilot smart schools, right? That we have. And these smart schools are going to be provided facilities for artificial intelligence, robotics, coding, and all the rest of them. So there are just 20. So whenever I see everybody just talking about smart schools, smart schools, smart schools, it's always good for people to understand and get clear about what really the smart school is in Abia State. So there are 20, as I've said in my earlier speech, that we have 20 smart schools, 17 for the 17 local governments, one each, and now the mega smart schools that will be one for all three in all the three secretarial, across the three secretarial zones of Abia State. So I believe that answers the question.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we'll go to technical and vocational training. Technical and vocational training education, well, TVET actually, is something that is also very dear to our government because we have a peculiar system, we have a peculiar nature of Abia State. We have Aba, where we have a lot of skills, we have a lot of craftsmanship, we have a lot of trading, and all the rest of the manufacturing, and all that. Now, that is what has informed Abia State as a sub-national to emphasize on building skills in these children. Now, building skills goes in different ways. One, you can see the mechanical, you can see the furniture making, you can see the electricals, you can see. We want to develop Abia State to be a hub where people can come from different parts of the world and say, okay, I want to get people that are good in tiling, they come to Abia State. I want to get people that are good in POP, they come to Abia State. So that is why, in line with the national curriculum, which we have also investigated in Abia State, that makes it essential for every child before they get to JSS 3 should have at least one skill that they should have. Now, if you go to Government Technical College in Aba, this is one of our pilot technical colleges where we are investing quite a lot in the area of welding. Equipments are being installed. This is verifiable. You can go to that place to see that. We're doing a lot in mechanical. We're doing a lot in fabrication and quite a lot of them. So each child, that's in that, by the way, that school has grown in enrollment from, I believe they should be hitting about 1,000 right now. Okay? And we have made it co-educational so that girls and boys can also benefit from it. It used to be a boys' technical college. Now we have girls coming into the school as well because we are emphasizing on the girl child being empowered with skills as well. Right? And that goes in line with the Sustainable Development Goals where we talk about gender equality. That every child, be it a girl, a female, or a male, should be given that opportunity to gain skills. So that is actually what's going on now at the Government Technical College. And the government has also set up a bureau for skills and training, which we have a DG right now, that is charged with the responsibility of doing this and doing it very well, not only for our students, but to youths entirely. We are looking at solar technology, which is actually the game changer in energy right now. That why can't we, as Abians, have that place where we can be able to manufacture solar panels, right? Get experts to come and train our young people in manufacturing, installation, and maintenance of all those things. And that speaks volumes of what we are talking about technical and vocational training that is across the street. And beyond that, we're looking at agriculture, where every child should have at least a skill in maybe rearing, like when you have the green houses, you know, in different areas and all that. Emerging technology in agriculture. Thank you. Now, as somebody talked about provision of furniture in schools, writing materials and all that, it is very, very, essential for us to understand that what we are having, the state of our schools have improved since His Excellency has used it as government. That children sitting on ground is what we met as a government. They did not just start sitting on ground or maybe on the floor because our government came in. No. It's a situation we met on ground, and we have been doing everything possible to provide furniture. And when you are doing this, the enrollment keeps on increasing. It keeps on increasing, right? So we leverage on data. We get data from every single school, and we now, add it to our policy making strategies that we now build in line with, the exponential increase that we're having in the enrollment in our schools. So whatever you are seeing right now is an ongoing concern for the government, and we are procuring more seats and more seats. Not only that, doing more schools so that everybody can be properly accommodated. Now, your question about the culture, right? The Igbo culture and all the rest of it. I must have to say that it's noteworthy for us to understand that His Excellency the Governor established the Ministry of Arts, Culture, and Creative Economy. Trending right now about the Igbo language and history and all that. I must have to use this opportunity to stress on the fact that we stand bold as a subnational to continue to enhance, to develop, and to promote Igbo language in our schools, as well as history, right? That is why you are seeing us employing new teachers in that area. It's an area that we give special concern while we're doing our recruitment, right? So we have a lot of Igbo teachers to also add to what we have, and we are promoting Igbo language. And you can see even at the Executive Council of the state that first Monday of every month, everybody now has to come up with that attire. So these are things that will come up and join up to each other to make sure that Igbo language is actually, and we are very careful about screening the books, reviewing books that are used in our schools, right? So to make sure that the schools, that the books are used in our schools are books that are in concert with what we believe in as adults. And now we are also trying to encourage authors and publishers that they should have books that reflect our tradition, right? Now, I don't, we used to have A is for apple, okay? Like what we used to have. Now, somebody here can also tell me what fruit starts with A here.
Abba.
Eh? It's a fruit. It's a fruit.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I want everybody. Okay, Aki, right? So now you can also see the situation whereby we have U for Odara, right? So because you can see that what is happening in Abia State right now is encouraging Abians in the diaspora to bring back their children to Abia so that they can also learn our culture. So it's something that gives joy to parents that they will have their children also learn from our system, our school system, our indigenous language. And that is why even in the learning instructional materials on the walls of our schools and all that, we are trying to, even from the Abia logo, you can see that we have the Emi, right? The elephant. And the other one, the Ago, is that? That's the other animal there. So we have gone ahead to also continue to teach our children the fundamentals of what you're seeing. You have Ogo and all that in our state's logo. So all those things speak volumes of the fact that we are concentrating on solidifying our stand, Igbo language, and history of our people, because we know that His Excellency on the 1st of January went ahead to commission the newly rebuilt Senator Kenechukwu house. So many of our people that never knew about him had the opportunity. That is history. That is a practical lesson in history to understand that these are people that made us great. And likewise, we are also developing across the state heroes of Abia State that have done so well that our children can read about, and their history knowledge is probably done. Thank you very much.
Follow up. Can I do a follow up?
Go ahead.
Recently, was in the news that the federal government reintroduced the teaching of history in secondary school, in fact, in our schools. But unfortunately, it was alleged that Igbo history was excluded from the curriculum. I don't know if you have had this. If you have had it, how true is it?
Okay, thank you very much. This is an opportunity to have our people, because knowledge is power. We have to, make our people understand that that was not, it never happened. Okay, there's a body called NERBC, the agency of the federal government that is charged with the responsibility of reviewing books that are used. And from what we are hearing from the media, that there was never a time that Igbo language was removed. And we as educators, and
Igbo history.
so Igbo history.
Yes.
Okay, yes, Igbo history. No, it was never removed at all. It was never removed in any way. And whomever that is showing any book of Igbo language or Igbo history being removed might be an independent expression, right? An independent expression. I'm saying that because I'm also a professional publisher and writer, over 25 years of doing this. So I understand how this works, right? That for someone, just for a book to have that expression doesn't generalize the fact. What we have to look at critically is what are the guidelines set by the federal government? That's what we should look at. Secondly, in being a subnational as a state, as you in Abia State, for example, that we also have our discretion, all right, to introduce and sustain whatever that we want to have. So, from my general opinion, that is not true.
I'm going to ask, when we say free education, what exactly does free education cover? Does it cover uniforms, books? Does it cover exams, tuition? What does it cover? And then again, what measures are being taken to prevent hidden charges in most of our public schools? Because even when you say there is free education, you still find out that some of these public schools still go ahead to give tax to some of these children, and their parents still have to pay regardless. Then, secondly, on the criteria, I would like you to tell us the criteria being used to ensure that quality teachers are recruited, especially for these smart schools. And if these smart schools are really going to be smart, what level of teachers are we expecting to have? Are these going to be teachers from the public schools or teachers specially trained for the smart schools? And if it's going to be this way, what is the salary structure going to look like? Thank you.
In addition to what,
in
addition to what they are just
Yes.
asking, I'm not asking a new question.
It's an addendum, right?
Yes. What is the role of government to checkmate the activities of some of these private schools?
An addendum to that as well is PTA levies, they still allow. Some time ago, I think students were leaving and they couldn't write their exams because they were asked to make certain payments. I had to reach out to the principal who tried to write, and I'll call the chief press secretary to find out. In fact, it was after them that they asked, but they gave back the money to the students. I want to be sure. Would they continue to pay PTA levies because these schools are exploiting and extorting money from parents through PTA levies?
Don't even go PTA.
In addition to addendum 2, in addition to what he has said concerning this free education. Anyway, I'm speaking from the general manager and the general president. My question is this: my understanding of the 6334 system is that the first 9 years in school is supposed to be free. Now, the remaining 7 years, which is the 3 and 4, is it also supposed to be free? Like the senior secondary school and the tertiary institution. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to please talk about security in schools. So let's just like that. Now, His Excellency the Governor is very concerned about security in schools. We are deploying intelligence about the schools. Now, we have also witnessed and noticed a lot of vandalism in schools. We're not taking it lightly anymore. Vandalism in schools, safety of our children in schools. His Excellency has directed the Homeland Security to recruit, train, and deploy security personnel across the schools. So I think that is going on right now. Training is ongoing, and shortly from now, at least 3 security personnel will be deployed to our schools, 3 or 4, so that they can have a shift system of making sure that for every school, and His Excellency has also directed that every school being retrofitted now must be fenced round. Okay? The fencing is very important. one, to secure our boundaries, our properties, of school, and also to at least to ensure that there's a gate, the central point of, added to community policing and vigilante groups that we also, asking for their support across the communities to make sure, because there's no crime that happens without somebody knowing. Intelligence is the key, right? For every community, they know the bad boys. They know where they are. Nothing happens without somebody knowing. So community involvement, intelligence, physical security, human support, and all the rest of it, and also the sincere commitment of government of Abia State to ensure that our schools are secured. That is about security. Now, going back to the question about the hidden charges in our schools. Okay, let me start up the person that asked the compulsory education is okay. I wish it is around so that I can be able to address that. Now, hidden charges in our schools. Because of the fact that His Excellency wants to totally eradicate all of those, not some of those charges in our school. That is why he's providing interest for the schools. Okay? Now, in the secondary schools, every principal gets 100,000. Okay? It's entitled to get 100,000. Not per month, because interest cannot be per month. It's when you retire. Okay, you now can get another one. So 100,000 for the primary school is 50,000, right? So this helps them because some of those things, some of these charges, okay, we want to do sports, want to do arts and crafts, you want to get all those things, materials for that, every charge you have, come to school, 200 naira. So these things have been taken care of. And any head teacher or teacher in the school that is seen collecting such is totally going to be exposed to the word of the law. So that is what I have to say about that. That we have made provision for that. But we also, in addition, enhancing our monitoring of schools. Our eyes are on the schools. If you look at this, if you go to the social media, you see personnel of Abia State government going to different schools to find out what's going on there. Because His Excellency has directed that all eyes of government has to be in the school. So that also connects with the PTA and navies that you talked about. That one thing we encourage against is that as you see something, you say something. You don't just have to bottle it within yourself or go to the social media and talking about the fact that this is happening, We are all Abians and it's in the best future of our children. So those ladies in the schools are totally illegal. Okay? And anybody that has any of such encounters in that school should feel free to come to the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education to report, and I can tell you in 24 hours there's going to be a hit on that particular issue in that school, and that's going to be stopped. So we depend on the cooperation of Abians for us to achieve that. For the private schools, we all know that there's a new policy on non-state schools by the federal government of Nigeria. And that policy is one thing that we are standing on and we are leveraging on to ensure that the standards set for our private schools, they have to meet up such standards. His Excellency the Governor is very much concerned about reforms in private school education, right? Yes, while the surge is going to the public schools, he's also concerned in having standards for the private schools, standards in infrastructure, standards in hygiene, standards in security and safety, standards in personnel in these schools, because we have to have private schools that can provide teachers that are qualified. Okay? Yes, so the qualification of our personnel in the private schools is of great concern to us. So we are having our inspectors of schools going to all those places, but we also depend on information from parents as well. That is why we have helplines across the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, that we want to have people call in and tell us their experiences and any place that we need to get to and find out exactly what's going on there. Because we approve the schools. So we have to really regulate with our policies and programs to ensure that private school provision is also of high standard across the state. So we talked about hidden charges PTA. Is there any other one I have not handled?
Yes, after the 9 years.
Okay, yes, 9 years of basic education. That is in line with the universal basic education program that provides for every child, as a matter of the right of every child is to have compulsory, uninterrupted flow of education up to GSS 3. And you can see that that is actually where we are providing free education. We are ensuring that we have free education. Okay. Now, on the other side of, because the aim of this is that by the time any child gets to JSS 3, they must have gotten the fundamentals, the basics of education that will make them to be equipped. You understand? For them to move. Because that is why on the side of the senior secondary, we are emphasizing on skills, more skills, right? That if you go to some countries across the world, you see that children of 15, 16, 17 are all building chips, all building gadgets that we use when we get to this part of the world, in Africa. So that we are running our free education from any childhood, that's the nursery, up to JSS 3. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Let me take you on the school feeding issue. Is it really a strategy to reduce the population of the students, or a way to find out? It does appear the government has subsided in that area. We no longer hear about school feeding. What is actually happening? That is one. Secondly, your synergy and relationship with the NUT and the ARTEX. Can you talk a little more on that, sir?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I must have to say that the government of Abia State has recorded a tremendous surge in enrollment because of the fact that confidence has been restored in the education system. That is one. And whatever about feeding, nutrition is an issue, right? Yes, there has been a free meal program. That these things are programs and plans, okay, that are on the pipeline, that we are carefully considering how to do them and do them well across the school, and still looking at the source that we're having. Because if you want to make plans for a budget, as in 2026 or 2027 budget, you have to also have your data to ensure that you're not just budgeting for free meal for 300,000 children, and suddenly you have 500,000. All right. So these are things. If you can watch closely at what Abia State government is doing, everything is empirically and systematically, technically approached. Right. So your question about free meal program is something that, in time to come, the plans of government will be unleashed in that area, and of course everything will be in line with promoting nutrition, promoting good health, and also making sure that children are well fed and comfortable.
So let me take you.
Okay, the NUT relationship by the handcuffs. It's a very, very beautiful, cordial relationship. You know that His Excellency the Governor has really set a record across the country as a governor that employed 5,394 teachers in 1 year. That's actually speaks well about the relationship with NUT, which NUT actually appreciates so much because the more teachers that you employ, you are reducing the stress from the other teachers that are in the classroom, right? So that shows a strategy for government to continue to expand its human resource. And our relationship with ANCOPS, the senior secondary school heads, as well as NUT, is robust, cordial. Our doors are open. We have regular meetings with them, and any issues, of course, in human relationship, issues arise, right? But the most important thing is the sincerity of purpose to tackle such issues in record time and make sure that any outstanding challenges is resolved amicably, and of course, going forward with plans to sustain whatever interventions that we make.
Yeah, let me ask this question. I know education is meant to prepare an individual to contribute to the development of society. We have spoken much about what the government is doing to improve the learning environment in our schools and to also encourage our children to show more interest in education. If you go to our villages and even in townships, you find a lot of people who are educated, who are roaming the streets, with nothing to do. They cannot really employ or deploy their education to anything that is meaningful. And you now hear, a balance like education is scarce because most people are unemployed. And if you go to our villages, you find out that the problems that are created there are by people who have finished their education and they find nothing to do with. Much as the government could be commended for giving employment to teachers and some other specialized groups, things are not hard about what the government is doing to provide employment to our graduates. So I'm asking, does it really matter to government how people who are educated deploy their experience, in the government circle to move the society forward?
Okay. I'm here. The governor gave teachers the opportunity to return to wherever they have located. Some of them were transferred or posted outside their region. And he gave them the opportunity to apply for the transfer. And many of them applied, but are yet to get that grant. I have two persons who complain of always traveling to our region where they teach. Now they want to come back to Abia. And they plan to assist people like this to ensure the issue of always travel on the road, and it's a little bit difficult for them, returning them back to where they stay to make it much easier and condition-wise and so.
Thank you very much. Let me start with question vice about the employment. That's centered on employment, provision of jobs, getting people off the streets, right? So one thing that we have to understand is that the developmental strides of this government are all centered on making Abia conducive for investment, and investment also will bring job opportunities, right? So now, you also see that first of this kind across the country and in the history of these states and across Africa, you're seeing government acquiring moribund industries. You see government acquiring industries that have prospects, companies, establishments that have prospects, enterprises that have prospects, right? You can see us recently, we just finished our paperwork for the Star Paper Mills, okay? That is going to bring back that industry to what it used to be before. We all know that at some point in our history, that Star Paper Mills was one of the highest job providers in Abia State, and a lot of young people that were passing through school were looking forward, to having that, working there, right? So, government of Abia State, under His Excellency the Governor of Abia State, Dr. Kenechukwu is very, very strategic. And we look at industries where Abia State can invest into and now make it bounce back to what it used to be before, with the primary and sole aim of providing jobs for our young people, right? So you can also see our route into Afro beverages as a company, trying to also, get our hands into that and get it. Of course, you know that His Excellency the Governor, Dr. Kenechukwu, as a banker, as a bank chief executive, has the requisite knowledge of SWOT analysis, of business plans, of developing institutions and enterprises. So that is something that is a no-brainer. He's just putting in that, and just at the snap of a finger, he's able to analyze what this industry is about and see the growth potentials and how investments into it can happen. So you also see that making Abia State conducive for investors to come. You see that with the environment that is peaceful, security is assured and guaranteed in Abia State, you see people now relocating their businesses back to Abia State because Aba is shining, clean and safe. Port Harcourt Road is there, all the roads, access, logistics, transport, what have you, and you see a new airport that is coming up very soon. So these are things that will align with each other to make sure that the right people come into Abia State, and that as they are coming, they are not just coming just to look at Abia State, they are coming to make investments, and these things are things that will also create jobs for our young people. So, and look at what is happening if we have 80 buses, 80 electric buses at the end of the day, 80 electric buses at the end of the day. You see that we have new people that will venture into even driving those buses. It's also creating jobs for them, right? So as Abia State, if you look at Umuahia, you see that a lot of people are coming in to do one thing, or you see new faces are coming in, foreign investment is coming in here. At Aba, the industrial landscape is awesome and booming. So those things are going to create jobs for our people. So that is government putting in its effort to make sure that economy is thriving and everything is going fine. Thank you. And now we go to the transfers of our teachers. Yes, there was a window that was given. One thing there is that His Excellency, his own vision and wish about people getting employment in Abia State, that they stay where their heart will be at rest, where they will not spend so much, okay, to commit themselves to wherever their job location is and all that. So there was a window of opportunity. And you also know that in all sincerity, when we post someone to a particular place, a particular local government, it's because there's need for a teacher there, right? So that teacher leaving that place to an urban area is also a minus from that side. And in addition to this, where there may be so many teachers already, but His Excellency just said, okay, let's have people settle in where they are. Now there are also plans to bring some sweetness into living in rural areas and working, because there's plans for better accommodation, some allowances for the teachers and all the rest of them. So these are things that will also encourage, and so there are plans that the state government is making to ensure that everybody working in a particular place is happy and glad to be doing that and putting in their best efforts.
Chair, before Chair would address you, before Chair will address you, sir, something just struck my mind. If you can oblige us, media executives here, members of ARTEX, Chair, we would love to take a tour of these schools being developed by the government across the state. If we can give that opportunity to have a direct view of those schools from each region to the next region, again, we can probably to help us address a lot of things within our various offices. When we see our staff will have an idea of what that flow is.
Okay. Yes, because we run a very transparent government, what we say we do, and whatever we promise we keep. Okay? Our promises are made, promises are kept by Abia State, and of course, infrastructure development is something that is anybody can walk into anywhere and just see them. So I think they are verifiable and things that, of course, at any point in time that gentlemen of the press want to have a first-hand. I think we had that kind of session some time ago with some press people. I think that was last year. They went around and all that. But it's also, that whatever that was seen there, because we have a rapid transformation of our schools, may not be the way it was then. A lot of improvements have been made. So, of course, the welcome idea from gentlemen of the press to always be at any point in time.
This one is strictly for ARTEX.
Okay, maybe Mr. Chairman and your team members, that is something that can be done offline.
Okay, sir, let me ask you my own question. Because yes, of course. The governor in the area of education, which I like them here, it's quite good. But I'm looking at the private schools, the migration of some of their teachers to this school. What is the government doing to ensure that some of these schools become lively again? Because a lot of schools now, private schools in Abia State, they are crying because you see a particular school losing up to 5-6 teachers because of the government opening all that. So what are you going to do to ensure that some of these schools comes back alive again?
Thank you very much. Well, it's worthy of note that this is the first time. This is the first time, by the efforts of the state government, that we are having a shift it used to be a shift from the public to the private. Oh, privates are paying very well. Privates and the salaries are steady in private schools. But now you see that the shift and the entire reset of the system that has made public schools now being the center of attraction. So it's something that we should applaud the government for. Yes, and it's sustainable because of course everything is going on forward. So, but the governor of Abia State, in his good mind and his love for Abia, because he understands that everybody in Abia, whether private provider or public provider, we are all Abians, right? And we also know that private schools also contribute their own quota towards the development of Abia State by paying salaries, creating jobs, and also, improving the educational landscape. That is why His Excellency has set up committees, okay, to look into the affairs of private schools and see how credible private schools that mean business. There are some private schools that are just children of circumstances, right? Somebody just comes in from this side and say, okay, I want to what we want to look critically at those schools that have maintained excellence over years in their results, in the kind of standards they have provided, and also the kind of quality of teachers that they have. These are things that we are working as a government to ensure that we also uphold, you understand, those schools and make sure that they don't just, evaporate because of what's going on in the public schools. And if you look at the National Non-State Schools Policy of 2024, you see that there are set standards that government should also do, federal government actually, even the state government should also do to also support all this by sharing facilities with them, knowledge, capacity building, not just training on the public school teachers, but also including them. So we are all putting all those things in line to ensure that our private schools are also still maintained and they are doing very well. And of course, they can also, it's a competitive system, right? When a private school owner now finds out that, wow, the quality of the public schools is also highly improved, they should also put in more effort. It's also improving that. So this is a win-win situation whereby in a short time from now, mushroom, backyard private schools will no longer be in existence because nobody's going to go there, right? We're going to have, if this is a private school, in facility, in capacity, in human resource, and every other thing, that school stands out as really a private school indeed. Thank you.
All right, sir. Your closing remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, the chairman of ARTEX, the gentlemen of the press. It's been indeed an honor to be in your midst today. I must have to thank you for the opportunity that you have granted me to be here, and also the support that you also give as the third eye that is also always continuously watching out for the society and the government to make sure that things are going fine. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your positive support for the government and your very professional approach towards journalism. For us at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and the education sector generally, it's our commitment to continue to uphold the vision of the Governor of Abia Education to make sure that that which Abians have been promised is delivered fully from now all through the administration of the Excellency the Governor, and creating sustainable grounds that will ensure the continuity of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And throughout this evening, guests, we want to appreciate you, sir, for finding out time to be with us. Like we have always said, the media is the power of the week. We decide, this body decides on what you hear on radio, what you watch on TV here in Abia State. So the big heads you are seeing here today, we have the ability to shape, we have the ability to influence, and we have the ability to pierce the facts. Because most of the times you will find out that painful news or stories, they trend more than where the truth is coming from. Now most of the times, truth is silenced. Because what makes news is that you beat the dog. Not that Honorable Kenechukwu Nwosu say dog bite you. It's no news. The news is that you bite dog. Yeah. This one will call me, have you heard? You mean you've not carried the story? And I have to go and search wherever the story is. Even if there are no pictures of where you go see dog when they pass your office, you go buy am for leg, we will create one. But it's been trading in Abia for years. And we've had so many that today we are even looking for evidences of even things we had in the past. One of them we've heard about other elders. I don't know where the elders of today. I've been looking for. So many things have been used to shape and to influence the people of Abia. We don't want to talk about other states in the southeast because we are custodians of our own environment. So we want to appreciate you and also let you know that we are ready to disseminate what the government is doing and making sure that we are agents of the progress the state will be making. We thank you so much, asking you to also take our message, the message of ARTEX, to our state government. As a word of thanks, I want to invite the manager of Real FM to extend that to you.
Well, if you ask me, I would say thank you very much for coming, which is the primary thing I will ask to do. But it goes beyond that. I know you have been in that sector for some time now. It means you have something to offer. That's another thanks for you. Because if you don't have the experience, you'll be railroaded, the side of the road. That you have been always been recycled. In that capacity, particularly, means that there is something you are offering, which no other person. And also your willingness to address us on the issues that we have seen as things that should be in the front burner. Also attest to the fact that you are also a team player. All the questions that were put to you, you didn't scratch your head finding answers to it. You mean that you are a round peg in a round hole. That is what society requires. That is what journalists require. Not people who will come and talk with no evidence to show for what they have espoused. So we want to thank you for really giving the government a positive, image. I know if we are called upon next time, we will also come. We will dodge us because people who don't have anything to say will say, but Kenechukwu addressed you people the other day. He has spoken what I should have told you. But I know that your experience is inextinguishable. You can always talk to us like somebody who is an expert, somebody who knows what to say. On our own, what we want is that we give vent to all that you have said, so that the society will be informed. So I want to thank you on behalf of this organization. We ask you to come again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please.
Yes, a good
Yes,
photo.
I will.
Outside of it.
Yeah.
Here. You took some good photograph.